That's hot. Hey y'all, and welcome back to My Creative Life with Kel Sweetie, where we read books, we make art, and during a certain time of year, we get Halloween holiday happiness. And today we are going to be covering my 90s Halloween watch list. Now, last year I did a fall Halloween recommendations list that had TV shows, movies, and books, and it was extensive because not only did I give you all of those categories, but I also gave you something if you were looking for something scary, if you were looking for something spooky, and I think my third type of in my Venn diagram was Halloweeny, and it was something that was like in the middle of something that was spooky, which was a little bit more fun, and something that was scary, that self-explanatory. So if you are looking for more recommendations than what you're gonna get today, I recommend you go over to that video. It'll be linked down in the description. It is extensive. It will keep you basically busy for the probably next 2 Halloweens, if that. Because to be honest with you, my Halloween watch list doesn't change all that much year to year. I save all of the Halloween goodness for a certain time of year, and I bring them back out and recycle them every year. There may be a new one that's added to the bunch ever so often as a new movie or TV show or whatever comes out. Agatha All Along is probably getting added to that list, but for the most part, it stays the same, so go check that out after you see this video. Today's video is a little bit different. I decorated my 90s Halloween party on my book nook this year, and in preparation, I watched tons of 90s Halloween specials. One, to remind me of why the 90s were the supreme year for Halloween, but also just to get a list going, because I think that sometimes when it comes to TV shows, I just find like Charmed or Sabrina Teenage Witch, something that's already Halloween-y in its description of the actual show, but I don't really find all of the Halloween specials for shows that I always love to watch anyways, because back in the 90s, there used to be special Halloween episodes every single year, and they were sometimes the best episodes of the entire season. So I did all of that research, and now I am here to provide it to you. We're going to go through 10 of my favorite episodes, and actually I have more than that. If you want to see, you like what you see today, please go check out my Patreon, because I'll have an extensive list of all of the 90s and early 2000s, because I'm a young millennial, and I'm counting it over on my Patreon. It's a great time, and I share information like that all the time over there. Now, I have my 90s commercials happening in the background, something from yesteryear, because we no longer have Halloween commercials. And if you are ever looking for this, just know you can always look on YouTube for hours of Halloween commercials, because there's people out there doing the Lord's work and recording all of these specials for us to play in the background while we're working, or just to feel nostalgic, and it's wonderful. I absolutely love this one. This is what we're going to see today. But on the other side of this intro, I will get into what we'll be talking about today. So I'll see y'all on the other side. Now, like I said, we'll be going over some of my 90s Halloween favorites, and I will be having a full list on my Patreon. But what you will notice in this video, I will not be going over Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark, simply because I feel like that's a layup. Everyone knows, go watch Goosebumps and go watch Are You Afraid of the Dark. I feel like having them and referencing them in this video would probably just be redundant, because everyone knows as soon as you say 90s Halloween, Goosebumps automatically comes to mind, and so is Are You Afraid of the Dark. So before anybody goes, you missed a classic, I didn't. It's so much of a classic that I felt like I didn't need to mention it. However, if you are looking for any of the specific episodes that both of those series came out with in reference to Halloween, because they had their own Halloween episodes, even though they were a Halloween type of series, then you can go and check out my overall watch list over on my Patreon, because I do make mention of it, just so that you have a clear location of where to find that specific episode. But I just wanted to set that expectation early, because I didn't want people thinking that I would ignore such a pivotal type of shows such as Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark. I want to get that out the way first and foremost. I wanted to make sure that y'all knew I did not forget, all right? So let's get into the list. I'm going to be showing them a little clips of the episodes in the background as I'm talking through them and explaining to you what the episode's about and what I love so much about them. Okay, so to start off our 90s watch list is Boy Meets World. I loved watching this show when I was younger, and now being older, I sometimes forget that this is such a great classic to watch. I hate calling it classic, but it is. It's such a great show to watch. Honestly, there are so many jokes in here that I didn't get the first go around when I watched this when I was, I don't know, like 7 or 8. And now watching it, it's so much better because I'm catching all the things that I missed for the first go around. And it's actually just really good. Like, it's just good writing. It's just solid writing. I chose the episode season 5, episode 17, and then there was Sean. There is a Halloween episode actually earlier in this season, but this one is honestly one of my favorite Halloween Disney Channel episodes, to be honest with you. It honestly is scary. It has a bunch of laughs. It has a bunch of pop culture references. At one point, Jennifer Love Hewitt somehow shows up in this episode. There's actual blood. There's actual scares. It's amazing. Sean and all of them and Corey and them end up in detention and stuck in the school where a killer is on the loose. They first think it's Feeney, and then next thing you know, they find out it was not Feeney. And I don't want to give much more than that, but it's such a great classic of a 90s television show. It has, I mean, at one point, they're like, they killed Kenny!
You put on a little weight since the last time you were scared? No. You scream when the lights go off. To scream when the lights come on takes away from the first scream. We'll always remember he was that tall.
Oh my gosh! They killed Kenny!
And it's the best reference because it's the 90s and South Park. And I think when I was like that young, I didn't get that's what the reference was. But there's plenty of things such as that. I love watching this, and I don't know how it wasn't in my rotation beforehand, but it's hilarious. It honestly is such a good episode. Just give you a heads up. This is now streaming on Disney Plus. All of Boy Meets World is streaming on Disney Plus. So if you have that, don't worry, you can check out this show, which is honestly, it's chef kiss. It's just like the best Disney Halloween episode ever. Now, next on my list is the Halloween special from the 90s classic, Moesha. I love Moesha when I was growing up. It's such a great show, once again. I used to watch it even when they used to play it on the N, which was, I think it was like supposed to be Teen Nick on cable back in the day. Who knows? I don't. But they had an amazing Halloween special when essentially a kid that they knew from the 3rd grade basically comes back to town. And Moesha and her friends apparently got him in some real trouble back when they were in 3rd grade, which started him down a pretty bad road. Juvie, all this, that, and the other. And basically the entire episode is them running from this kid who's come back to town, and they're freaked out. It's hilarious between Hakeem and his like crazy antics and Moesha and them just like afraid the entire episode. It's the funnest, it's just the most fun time. I really don't think that I think Moesha only had one real Halloween episode, and that was one thing that I did find with a couple of these that are not your traditional Halloween shows that are usually end up on these lists, is that they only had one Halloween episode. But what I will say is that when they did do the Halloween episode, they did it right. This one is still creepy, it's hilarious, it actually, and I think that was the other thing too, is that a lot of these shows that did the Halloween in the 90s, it didn't feel, I don't want to say it was like adult, but it just didn't feel childish. I felt like even watching this now, even though Moesha was kind of made to be a sitcom that was for like that preteen to teenager kind of age group, it never felt that way. And again, even going back to our last option, which was from Boy Meets World, it didn't read as like it was supposed to be for young kids, and it didn't feel like adult. It just felt actually like Halloween scary and a lot of fun. So it's very surprising how this one actually ends, and you spend the entire episode afraid for Moesha and her friends because they really do think that they may be dead from this kid who they messed up their lives back in 3rd grade. So I do recommend you go check it out. You can now watch it on Amazon Prime. They have it right now if you want to go check that out, as well as the entire series of Moesha if you want to try and binge watch that. Something about the Moesha series feels, there's some shows that just feel, they may not be fall specific like Gilmore Girls is, but something about it feels like it's that midpoint of summer and fall. I don't know what it is. That just may be me. But go check it out. Another great show that is on this list is Dawson's Creek, which I think that a lot of people sometimes forget to watch Dawson's Creek, maybe during Halloween, and how perfect it is, because it was created by Kevin Williamson, who, if you don't know, is the same person who created and helped write all of the Scream franchise and I Know What You Did Last Summer. So if you notice now, knowing that information, some people may not notice, but in Dawson's room, there are plenty of things in his room and like posters that change out that are in reference to Scream and A Nightmare on Elm Street and I Know What You Did Last Summer. And they even poke a little bit of fun here and there at Kevin Williamson being a part of those franchises.
Hello? Who is this?
You tell me your name, and I'll tell you mine.
Okay, Dawson. Dawson, I got your note. I feel very part of. Thank you very much. Now you can stop.
Who's Dawson?
All right. Yeah, I saw this movie.
So, tell me your name.
Drew Barrymore.
And it's also the reason why Dawson is so in love with Friday the 13th and Halloween and horror slasher films. It really is because of Kevin Williamson's involvement. That being said, their Halloween episodes were sometimes some of the best episodes of the entire season. During college, I went through a huge Dawson's Creek type of binging session. I just all of a sudden was like, let me finally watch this. And I binged it. And yes, by the time it got to around like season 5, it kind of went downhill. But before that, I get it. I get the melodrama. I get it. I get why people love this show. But one of the best episodes that they have, which is their Halloween episode, is from season 1, episode, I believe 11. Yes, episode 11. I have my notes down here. And it has to do with Dawson's getting ready for Friday the 13th. Of course, he's scaring everybody left and right. That's his whole deal. And he's going to be throwing a bit of a Friday the 13th party. Now, as all this is happening, a serial killer is rumored to be in Cape Side. That is all I can really tell you, but this is actually, it's clear that Kevin Williamson was a part of this, obviously, because there are actual scares in this. There are moments where you're just like, this is actually kind of freaky and scary, you know, as much as it can be for television. And even the ending, you kind of get this little bit of a last minute shock, which is great. It was fantastic to kind of watch and relive all of this. And this is probably one of my top 5 Halloween episodes just because of the actual fear and melodrama that's happening with all of them while all this is going down. So make sure you go and check this out. It is now, all of Dawson's Creek is now streaming on Hulu. I think they always, I mean, even back when I was in college, I think I watched this on Hulu. So I think they have the rights forever. But if you want to go check it out, you can check that out on Hulu if you have it available to you right now. My next option is Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Of course, as I said in the beginning of this video, I did say I'm not going to say things that are traditionally considered Halloween. Of course, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, she's a witch. Of course, you would just basically binge the entire series if you can. But again, they had specific episodes, and I wanted to tell you that Sabrina, I think actually, like, Sabrina the Teenage Witch had a running type of streak, that they were one of the few sitcoms who did a Halloween episode every single year that the series was out. The only year I think they didn't do it was its very last season. Jojo may explain why that season isn't the best, but you know, it's neither here nor there. Point is that Sabrina had basically tons of Halloween specific episodes for you to choose from, but my favorite is from season 2. It's season 2, episode 7, I believe. Yes, episode 7. And I love this episode because it has to do with Sabrina and Valerie. Valerie ends up throwing some type of party over at her place and telling everyone that she's going to throw one. It's a surprise. Of course, Sabrina's not really for it because her house is weird. But of course, something also weird happens where all of the furniture ends up getting these termites. And they're talking furniture, which is great. It's really crazy. There's a river of candy corn. A 90s band ends up at the very end of it all. I think one of them's playing like a violin possibly, which is very, very 90s for a pop band. And it's nothing but tons of Sabrina Teenage Witch fun. All the quippy remarks and all of the craziness ensues, and Valerie is none the wiser, as we all know. God bless her, she's such a sweet friend, but she really isn't all up there. So go check this out. It's now streaming on Hulu. All of Sabrina Teenage Witch is streaming on Hulu, and I actually am somebody who sees this as a soft Halloween launch. I kind of binge some of parts of the series as I'm putting up Halloween decor and stuff as I'm getting ready in like September, August, because it doesn't feel like hard Halloween. It feels like soft Halloween because of how it's basically just about a witch, and it's fun and everything and not as creepy. So I recommend you to go check that out if you have Hulu available to you. Okay, speaking of shows that you could basically just binge the entire series during the Halloween season and still get in the spirit, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I am a huge Buffy fan now. Last year during the Halloween season, I finally took it upon myself to watch the entire Buffy series, and actually I haven't even finished it yet because I got to around season 6 and it's just sad how much it had fallen from grace by the time it hit around like season 5 territory. But point is, I'm going to finish it. It really started to depress me. But I will say that I absolutely love Buffy. Justice for Oz and Spike should have gotten a better writing treatment because it was depressing. But this is one of Spike's better episodes as he was still just being introduced and was still a villain and still had all that verve inside of him. But this is the Halloween specific episode of Buffy. If you don't know, actually Buffy only had one Halloween specific episode. And that was from season 2, episode 6. I swear, y'all, I read it before I do this, and then I turn on the camera, and it's mind out. Just vibes. In this great episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it is Halloween. Buffy and her friends, Xander and Willow, are basically tasked because of this, like, principal who didn't know anything, who he ends up making them in charge of taking out some of the trick-or-treating kids. Of course, what ends up happening is that there is a new costume shop in town, and everyone has started shopping there. But what they don't know is that there's actually somebody who's got nefarious deeds who works at that costume shop. And on Halloween, everyone turns into the thing that they're dressed up as. I really love this episode too because this is kind of the beginning of Willow starting to gain some real backbone. Before this, Willow, although we love her, she was just so afraid of everything all the time. And I think I really love that this episode was kind of her start of starting to become a bit more of a quintessential part of the group and not simply just being afraid or sniffling after Buffy or whatever. This episode was kind of that turning point. And I really enjoyed that. But it's also a lot of fun. Xander turns into this commando. Buffy turns into this wilting princess. And Willow, surprisingly enough, is the only one who really knows what's going on because she dressed up as a ghost in a sheet, which wasn't that great. So she was just dead, but she's still Willow. And that's the reason why she's the only one who knows what's going on. It's such a great episode. It really is a lot of fun. And although it's their only Halloween episode. It still has that Buffy charm that you can get all season watching the rest of the entire series. But I really did love what they did with this episode and trying to make it different from, and I think that it's really interesting, some of like the shows like Sabrina or Buffy that are like made to be these kind of spooky type of shows, how they address like, okay, and now we're gonna have a Halloween specific episode. What does that look like when basically the whole basis of your series is something that is kind of Halloween specific anyways? So had a lot of fun watching this, and it is also streaming on Hulu right now, the entire series, if you want to go check it out. I swear, all of these are not just on Hulu, but Hulu is really the place for you to go if you are looking for your Halloween specific episodes. I think honestly it's because they have some of the best 90s series that are all streaming here on Hulu. So if you are currently have Hulu subscription, you basically hit the jackpot. Congrats to you. But next on our lineup is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I love the Halloween like episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It is so much fun. Hillary's fiance just died from a parachute accident, which is still crazy. And in order for her to find some closure, she is going to summon him. And as for anybody who is a huge Beetlejuice fan, you will recognize the psychic in this episode because it is Ortho from Beetlejuice. It's hilarious if you kind of can check like, oh, I recognize him from another Halloween special. In this show, what ends up actually happening is that Will runs his mouth too much while they're at the seance, and the psychic ends up cursing him. All this weird stuff ends up happening. Hillary is somehow sleeping with Jazz. Carlton's hair won't turn back from being green because he dressed up as Macaulay Culkin, and Will has to figure out how to change it all back. It's in good Fresh Prince of Bel-Air fashion, hilarious. It's a great time. It's funny all around. It really gets you into the Halloween spirit. Of course, it's 90s hijinks, which who does it better? But it really is such an amazing episode for Halloween, and I really recommend you to go check it out. Carlton has probably some of the best Hillary. Actually, all of them had some of the most memorable lines out of this season. Jeffrey, per usual, giving all the sass, but like Carlton dressing up as Macaulay Culkin and saying like, this is the star of our generation.
What are you supposed to be?
My idol, Macaulay Culkin.
Why? Because y'all the same height?
No, because his movies have grossed over $500 million worldwide. Not to mention, he's one heck of an actor.
It's just absolutely hilarious. I just have to admit. So go check this out. All the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is on Hulu, but you'll be able to find this there if you currently have the streaming service. So, as I said, not all of these were going to be on Hulu. This one's actually streaming on Peacock if you want to check it out right now, and that's Charmed. All of Charmed is actually streaming on Peacock right now. I've been slowly working my way through it again. This is also one of my binge watching series. Once it hits around August, I'm binging Gilmore Girls, Charmed, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Buffy. That's probably the top 4. We're binging those TV shows routinely. But again, as this show is about a coven of 3 witch sisters, they usually are it's already built in the series that this is for Halloween. However, they did have a Halloween episode. Again, one of the only Halloween specific episodes that they ever had. They're all dressed up, as you see Elvira in the back, and it was a lot of fun. Now, in this episode, the Hallowell sisters get pushed back in time, and they have to save a coven of witches from extinction. It's a lot of fun per usual. I absolutely love the series. Now, I will say that I think that this one I think it aired in 2000. So, again, as I said in the beginning of this video, I may have a couple of these that slipped in that were like the early Y2K, but we're counting it for the 90s because it was really, really, really close. It's kind of like the whole millennial thing. We count it. We count it. We count it. We count it. It's not so 2000s if it still feels a bit 90s in its creation. But absolutely love this, and it's really, really a great show. If you have not binge watched Charm, make sure that you do. Again, another show that I have not finished binge watching because when Prue left, and which RIP, but when Prue left and they brought in, I don't even know what that girl's name was. It was some with a P that just was out of this world. It just went downhill. They just did not have the same chemistry, all of them, and it slowly just started to get off the rails, to be honest with you. So I don't know what the 2000s and the 90s were doing with these grade A television shows, trying to change things and just losing the chemistry of the show. It seems like, talking about it out loud, it's an ongoing thing. But this is not one of those episodes. It's really a lot of fun, and I do recommend you go check it out if you currently have Peacock. Okay, I lied, guys. The rest of this list is all on Hulu. I guess that's why Hulu has Huluween, because they basically have absolutely everything. But I digress. There are plenty of other things on my list that aren't just on Hulu. But looking at my list, it is far and few in between. So, I don't know. Netflix isn't on this series, I'll tell you that much. Netflix isn't on this list. But if you're maybe going to watch, like, I think Goosebumps is on Netflix. So, you got us there, I guess. Next is My So-Called Life. This show, I mean, everyone always says it, but it deserves so much more than just one season. It honestly is historical, even in its creation, for its character Ricky, who played really one of the first openly queer characters on a sitcom television show. It talks about childhood depression. It talks about so many different issues in just one season, which is just amazing to me. And it was it's so good. But one episode that really, really is amazing is its Halloween episode. This was, of course, from its one and only season, episode 9, and it is creepy. It's truly, truly creepy and extremely sad, to be honest with you. They end up being stuck in the school and finding that, like, there's some kid who actually is still haunting the halls there. And the reason why is for some very, like, scary murder that ended up happening there. And, like, he ends up haunting the halls, and he's depressed, and he ended up only doing it because of peer pressure. This show did not treat kids like they were stupid, and that was the amazing thing about this show. And honestly, one of the creepiest things about this episode, dealing with all of the conversations that it dealt with. It is absolutely a Halloween episode. It's hilarious how her parents end up in this, like, trance for a whole night regarding Halloween while all of this is going on at the school. I absolutely love this episode. I actually watched it for the first time this year because I'd only watched, like, episodes here and there of My So-Called Life. I know there's only one season. I've been watched entire series before and somehow have not finished and binged just the entire one season of My So-Called Life. But I did watch this for the first time this year, and I fell in love with this episode just because it definitely gave all of the Halloween vibes, but it dealt with so much. So if you're looking for something that's just a little bit more than just hijinks and fun and something that's a little creepier and a little heavier, I do recommend you check out this episode of My So-Called Life. It is on Hulu right now. All of My So-Called Life is on Hulu right now. And the other recommendations that will finish out this list are also all on Hulu. Martin is now streaming on Peacock, the entire series. I thought it was streaming on Hulu, but I think that they, like, changed up their rights or something. Point is, Martin is next on this list, and their Halloween episode is hilarious. Martin, just being Martin, said, men can't get scared. Men don't get scared. I don't get scared. Lies, because Gina and Tommy, all of them end up crafting up an entire haunting on Halloween night to freak out Martin. And in all honesty, it's both hilarious and scary because Tommy's possession is, the faces that man makes are hilarious, which also, again, RIP to Tommy. God, he was so amazing in this show, but Go check out the Halloween episode of Martin. It really is hilarious. Per usual, the show itself is great. And I don't think enough people talk about the Halloween episode because it actually, it completely is 90s all the way. It's honestly actually scary in some parts. It's funny. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Go check out the Halloween episode of Martin. This is in, what season is it? Season 1, episode 10 of Martin, and it's now streaming on Peacock. So if you want to go check out the entire series, please go do so over on Peacock right now. We're back to Hulu for the final TV episode on this list, and that is from The X-Files. Now, this is a late contender because I have been binge watching The X-Files with my partner recently, and we saw this episode probably about 3 nights ago, and I knew I needed to add it to the list because it's that special combination of Christmas as well as Halloween. And I don't know how they did it, but they did it perfectly in this episode. So it's really great because you could either watch this for Halloween, or if you're during Christmas time and you're somebody who goes for a bit of a scarier Christmas, you could also watch this for Christmas. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. I love it. It is in season 6 of X-Files, episode 3. Basically, Mulder pulls up to this haunted house on Christmas night. Apparently, bad things happen to it on Christmas night or Christmas Eve, something along those lines. And Scully pulls up. She, of course, is trying to get ready for her family's Christmas stuff. Mulder doesn't have any family, so he doesn't really have anything to do and everything. She ends up going in the house with him, and haunting and scariness ensues. The episode's actually scary. I'm not gonna... There is blood everywhere. There are dead bodies. There are ghosts. There are star-crossed lovers. There are suicide pacts. It's a dark episode. Craziness, hallucinations. It's a lot. And it's not necessarily heartwarming whatsoever for your Christmas if that's what you're going for, but it really works as something that is a nightmare before Christmas type of situation. Absolutely love this episode, and I really had to add it to this lineup because, again, X-Files is one of those supernatural type of shows that honestly you could watch all. I mean, you could just binge the entire series during Halloween, but when they did do a Halloween-ish episode, they really did do it right with this episode. It also is, you know, all throughout all these seasons, we're sitting here begging for Mulder and Scully to just stop being stupid and end up together. And in this episode, they don't, but it's very clear, you know, they stop beating around the bush a little bit on their feelings. And the ghosts kind of are a part of that. It's very like, I don't know, like they're like, quit being stupid. Like, there's a reason why you came in this haunted house with this person, and it's not because you were just interested or whatever. It's because you trusted that person because you're in love with them. It's a whole 9. But it was really interesting, and honestly, I think season 6 is starting, you know, again, that 90s slump of like once you get to certain seasons, it just starts going downhill. And I think this is the last season that actually has Mulder in it. For some reason or another, I keep on waiting for the other shoe to drop regarding that, since I already know that that's going to end up happening. But this episode really was a great one, and it was a great combination of 2 great holidays, and somehow made it actually scary, like not just hokey, which is something that I really love about the X-Files series, is that it always really feels very believable and very realistic. You can, a lot of their monster type of episodes you really could watch for any of your Halloween needs. So go check this one out. It is now on Hulu if you want to binge the entire series, but if you want to check out this episode specifically. So that was all of our television series. I now want to get into just a few of the Disney Channel Halloween specials that I just feel like get forgotten amongst Halloween Town and Hocus Pocus. First off, Don't Look Under the Bed. This movie is amazing. 1, because there is some sexual tension between Francis and that boy, and I know it.
What's up, friend? You know you're too grown up to have an imaginary friend, don't you?
Well, no. I mean, I can see you guys right now, and that proves logically that...
Excuse me.
actually know for a fact that they had to take out certain scenes in here because Middle America couldn't stand it. But but this is a great, great film. It actually is scary. That boogeyman was really, really creepy near the end. A big boogie person was very, very weird near the end. And there's some hilarious hijinks that end up happening. And I know I keep on saying that, but I feel like that's the whole thing for the 90s. Hilarious hijinks during Halloween. Like, there you go. That's the theme. But this was really, really a great amount of fun, as you can see in the background, as Frances tries to find out why all these weird things start happening all over her town, and she keeps getting blamed for it. And she finds out from this mysterious guy that apparently this has to do with the boogeyman. This is an amazing, amazing film. I think that it really gets slept on amongst Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town. People automatically like go in droves to both of those movies, and they're just like huge representations of 90s Halloween and Disney, which they should be. But there are some great films that are getting left behind in the 90s. And Don't Look Under the Bed was one of them. I really, really recommend you to go check it out. Of course, it's now playing on Disney+. All of these recommendations are playing on Disney+ right now. And I think you'll have a great time. If you've not watched it yet, somehow some people still haven't watched this. And I'm just like, this was one of my favorite Halloween films I would play on Disney Channel when I was a kid. Another great film that I feel like sometimes gets forgotten, and that's Got a Date with a Vampire. I think that I watch this every year. It's so great. It somehow stars like Lizzie McGuire's dad as like a Van Helsing type figure, but it basically, they're trying to go out, so they get their mom a date who's newly divorced and needs one, and what they don't realize is that they actually got her a date with a vampire. So they spend the entire film trying to save her from this vampire. It's campy, it's fun. Sabrina's aunt is in it, and she somehow sings a rockabilly song. It's campy. It's very campy, and it's and I honestly think that it gets, again, forgotten amongst all the Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town fun. This one, I have heard some people are like, it's not that great. And I don't see how it's not. I mean, them kids were definitely wrong for sitting there preying on their mom, who obviously just needed a date because her confidence was horrible because her ex-husband was getting remarried to some woman and she was fresh from a divorce. But that's me speaking as somebody who's like nearing her 30s and is watching this film. It is a lot of fun. It is hilarious. I highly recommend you check it out. It's on Disney Plus right now. My final recommendation of Disney Channel original films that I feel like get left behind is the Scream Team. Scream Team is scary, y'all. It has to do with a man who essentially was a pyromaniac and set fire to his entire home, killing him and his child and his wife. And he haunts the town they live in. But it's also hilarious. It has some great comedians, and it has Kathy Najimy in it, which, if you don't know that name, one of the Sanderson sisters, absolutely, from Hocus Pocus. She has a double whammy of a Halloween movie situation going on. This film is hilarious. It also has Kat Dennings from Two Broke Girls, but her and her brother end up going back to a small town where their grandfather has just passed. There's also a lot of situations in regarding death, people passing, dealing with passing, moving on. I mean, honestly, it's heavy. It's not an easy film considering like they're there because their grandfather just passed, and they don't necessarily not show him like passing. Kind of. Like, you kind of get it. And they're at a funeral. It starts at a funeral. The father has a bunch of daddy issues, and he kind of imparts them on his son a bit. It's heavy. But what they end up finding are some ghosts in his house, and capturing them and trying to figure out what they're doing there. And in doing so, they end up somehow at like this like ghost rest stop situation. I feel like I'm not explaining it as well as I should. It's fun, all right? The ghosts are amazing. And the town is being haunted by the pyromaniac I had just told you about. And they need to figure out how to get rid of this guy because he's basically setting fires everywhere and somehow has gotten really, really stronger over all these years. That is basically the chaotic premise of the Scream Team. This is amazing. I highly recommend it. No, I've met so many people in the last year who've said they've not watched this film somehow. And it's so much fun, and it's actually scary. I've had my partner watch it, and he's like, this was on Disney and was for kids? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. There's, again, something about the 90s where it was that perfect combination of actual scaring and fun that you just don't get. Like, people either choose one or the other nowadays, and I feel like the 90s had that down to a T somehow. I recommend you to go watch this film. It's the Scream Team, and it's currently streaming on Disney Plus if you want to go check it out. So that's it, y'all. I had to sit here and take a drink because that was a lot. I know it was chaotic, but really, this is a solid list for you to start off your 90s Halloween watching. I cannot recommend these TV shows and movies enough. I feel like every year somebody goes, oh, what's your 90s Halloween go-to? And it's Halloween Town, Hocus Pocus, both amazing. Diversify, diversify. Diversify your watching. Get some Moesha and Martin in there. A Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode, perhaps. Even like check out some of the things that should be all year round and even somehow got a little bit spookier during Halloween season, like X-Files or Charmed. These were all recommendations that I cannot say are great, just amazing, and I have so many more to share with you all on my Patreon if you're looking for more. I will link it down in the description below because I have far more movies and far more episodes for you guys to check out. I just really feel like the 90s just got it as far as Halloween was concerned, and I was talking to somebody recently about this, that it just feels like we haven't been able to get it back. And I know that the pandemic really put a damper on trick-or-treating and even like trying to do Halloween the way that we used to, because it really slowed us down. It really like made it hard for us to get back out there and doing things. But we gotta find the joy again, guys. Millennials can't carry it for the rest of us. So I hope today's video did give you a start on some of your recommendations. I feel like once you start kind of seeing these like streaming sites and everything will start kind of filtering, oh, we see what you want to watch, here you go. And if anything, what I've learned today is that Hulu's got it all. So if you have a Hulu subscription, you're already ahead of the curve as far as watching any Halloween shows and everything. So make sure you go check that out. Actually, doing this, I realized that Disney Plus, if you have it right now, has their Halloween collection out right now. So they kind of do a collection of like things for that season, and they're not necessarily promoting it because we're not in October yet, but they do have it available, and it made it very easy for me to find all of their Halloween movies and shorts and things on there. I actually even saw that they have like a Haunted Mansion, I think, like screensaver thing where like there's like ghosts that move. That was cool. I need to check that out when we get off of here. But I was very interested by that. It was a lot of fun doing this video. I really just didn't want to only give y'all just a list of Halloween recommendations like I did last year, since I had already did that last year. And like I said, that list doesn't really change year to year. That kind of, you may add a new thing here and there. And I just didn't have anything too new to really add to the bunch, other than maybe some slasher films. But one thing that I did have to add was, from doing all of my research for my book nook this year, were some 90s Halloween options. And I just really realized that, like, there was something in the air during that era, man. There was something in the air. It was just so much fun. So again, if you do want to kind of create an ambiance for some YouTube like Halloween commercials, you can just Google it. There's plenty of different ones. I'm gonna actually link this one down below because this is one of my favorites. It's 3 hours worth of commercials and everything. I know that they usually are about an hour, and this one's actually 3, which is, I think, the longest I've seen. They also even do some Halloween episodes and stuff that are like non-interrupted. You can go Google that as well. I like to share that because that's something I learned about this year, and it's been great to kind of work with it in the background. Like, oh, I'm not paying attention, but it sounds great and it creates a vibe. But it's been a lot of fun going through all of these, and I'm excited to probably like add to this list. I want to maybe even do some like 2000s ones, because I feel like it's a completely different vibe, but was still fun. I don't really think the 80s really did like Halloween episodes as much, but I might be talking too quickly. I may like go on some like Halloween special hunt for the 80s and find like plenty of like gems. If you know any episodes that I missed down below, and not Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark, because I already told y'all why it was not included in this list, then please let me know down below. I would love to know if you got to the end of this video to share and for me to add to my watch list, because I need more. I need absolutely more. It's been a lot of fun telling y'all about what I've been watching to gear up for the Halloween season, and I'm so excited. I have more crafts. Those are coming. I also am working on my Trick or Sweet challenge right now. If you've not checked out that video, please do so. I'm talking about my announcement for what I'll be handling, and that's the reason why I know all of these like movies and shows that are coming out, because it's all just research for me to do my challenge and my illustrations every year during this time of year. And what else do I have coming? I have the Halloween planning party vlog. That's coming soon enough. Oh, it's coming soon enough. As well as, if you've not checked out for the full home tour, Halloween home tour, that's coming out on my Patreon if you've not checked that out. There's just a lot happening, and I feel like it's already flying by. So I hope to see y'all in the next one. Thanks y'all for watching. Please subscribe down below if you liked today's video and you're looking forward to any of that content I just talked about. I will see y'all. Bye.